But do you remember, fill it to the rim with brim?
Let's have some coffee. Whoa, only half a cup? I thought you liked coffee.
I love the rich taste. It's the caffeine I can do without.
Me too. That's why we're drinking Brim decaffeinated coffee.
This is Brim?
This is Brim. And it's decaffeinated, so you don't have to stop at half a cup.
If it tastes this rich, I don't want to stop. Fill it to the rim.
With Brim?
Fill your cup to the rim with the richness of Brim.
Fill it to the rim with brim? You remember it was a coffee commercial.
Yeah.
How long ago do you think that was?
Probably in the 80s.
70s, 80s, yeah. Just took that flight to Quito on LATAM Airlines. It's only a 40-minute flight, right? I'm just telling you what happened so that you get a flavor of what things are like here. And in a 40-minute flight, they told, now before I say this, keep in mind, if you've had children, right? When you have to tell something to a child that maybe you need to repeat yourself and tell them, what, 2 times, 3 times, maybe even 4 times if, you know, it's a child that's really kind of, you know, needs that. They told us on the plane no less than 8 times, and this is again on a 40-minute flight, 8 times to make sure that everyone had their masks on. They're covering their mouth and their nose. Now, if you count the fact that they translated it into, you know, they have Spanish and English, 2 languages, we actually heard it 16 times, okay? Because it's 8 times 2 languages. So we heard 16 times on a 40-minute flight to put the mask on. And this is what I'm saying.
Por su seguridad les informamos que es obligatorio el uso de mascarillas durante todo el vuelo, cubriendo nariz y boca. Solo está permitido retirarlas para el consumo de alimentos y bebidas o en caso de emergencia. Los baños son higienizados de forma constante por la tripulación de cabina. En caso de utilizarlos, evite generar aglomeración en el pasillo durante la espera. Para mayor información de las medidas de seguridad que passengers on behalf of the cabin crew are delighted to have you with us on this flight. We would also like to ask you to keep your seatbelts fastened even when the fasten seatbelt sign is off. For your safety, we would like to inform you that the use of masks is mandatory, covering nose and mouth, through the flight. Removing masks is only allowed for the consumption of the food or in case of an.
And then when we got out of the airport, and in the airport, we just passed through the airport to leave. We heard it one more time in the airport, right? And then when we got on the tram, which was about a 25-minute ride, we heard it 4 more times. So the total was, if you count both languages, 16 plus an airport, 17 plus 4, 21 times within the space of 2 hours. 21 times the same thing. Not even if you were telling children what to do, would you tell them 21 times in the space of 2 hours. This is overkill. It's 2-0. It's not Ecuador. And, you know, I mean, what else can I say? What else is there to say? What about buy Folgers because it's mountain grown?
That was old too, probably in that 70s and 80s.
And so the reason we remember this decades later is because of the repetition of the commercials. Remember? The commercials would come on and they would say the same thing over and over and over and over. And so it is when you're being told 21 times in the space of 2 hours to put your mask over your nose and mouth and to keep your distance 21 times over the pace of 2 hours. And imagine if you're out there 4 hours, you would hear it 40 times or 50 times, all right? And so that's what's going on there. I don't know if you can see all those signs. There's like 4 signs about you gotta disinfect your shoes, you gotta put your mask on, you've gotta put your disinfection. There's just all this disinfection signs, and there's nobody here. There's nobody here. You know, it's a Saturday. This place should be bustling with people. You know, it's just, it reminds me of, historically speaking, you've never seen any socialist or communist country on a commercial level achieve commercial success. You don't see it. It doesn't happen. And, you know, all of these things you see, they're an impediment. I know I don't want to go in there, you know, in any place that demands all of those things of a healthy person. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about of a healthy person, not, obviously, look, I'm no spring chicken, okay? I've been offering products and services all my life, since my 20s. And I offered services for many, many years, went to people's houses for many, many years, throughout all the seasons, even flu season, every single year. Pollen season, flu season. And so I know what it's like to be around the public and people all the time. Yeah, when I went to somebody's house and they were visibly sick, I always kept my distance. It was just good sense for me, someone that takes care of his own health and therefore cares about his health and cares about staying healthy and you know, and not contracting and becoming unwell, right? So it was just a good sense that when somebody was visibly ill, to stay away from them a good 6, 8, 10 feet as far as possible. But I never did that with people that were healthy and visibly well. I mean, this idea that visibly well people are you have to be afraid of them. That's never been true, never, ever, ever. It's not historical, it's not factual, it's not scientific, it's not biblical, and there's no basis to it whatsoever. So no, I've never ever done it, and I've been dealing with the public.
Let's be a little bit positive. Let's tell them that we had COVID, we're almost in the high-risk group, and we didn't get sick. I mean, we barely got sick. It was just like a couple
well,
of days.
here's a good thing to know, is that when this first broke out, or we were told it first broke out, we were told when it first broke out in January of 2020, we happened to be traveling. So we were one of those people that got caught in the middle of the travel. And guess where we got caught? At that time, I don't know if you remember, they were saying that Italy was North Italy, especially the Milan area, was the hardest. This is what we were being told and what we were hearing on the news, that it was the hardest hit in the whole world. Thousands were dropping, right? Thousands. And we had to go through the Milan airport for a connection. And the airport was was blocked off so that we had to stay in the airport overnight for the flight out the next morning. And we had to stay in the airport all night, you know, on these metal seats where there was people sitting all over them, and there were people laying on the floor, and it was really, and they were coughing and they were sick, almost all of them, and we were in the middle of them. And it was just the beginning. It was January. There was no mandates for mask. Nobody had a mask on. We didn't have a mask on. Nobody had a mask on. We weren't keeping distancing, although I knew better and I tried to not get too close to people. And so we had to kind of stay close to them because there was no room anywhere. The place was crowded. And we stayed that way the whole night next to these people. Now, you know, this isn't like walking on the sidewalk, somebody passes by, you cover your mouth because you're afraid of them. No, this was laying there all night next to them, and the next morning until we took the flight out. Okay, so what happened? So we took the flight out, we went to Bulgaria, and we started listening to the news, and we're like, oh my gosh, it sounded kind of a little bit fantastic to me, just because of my background. But still, there was a little element of, well, what if? What if there's some truth to this? And so what happened is I got a little tickle in my throat for about 2 days. What about you?
Well, we both had the tickle in our throat.
So we got a little tickle in our throat.
I had a little bit of a runny nose. So.
Okay, so maybe once in a while I'd get a little, you know, a little cough like that. But after 2 days, it was completely gone. And after 2 days, and so my point is, if we can go through the hardest, worst hit spot in the world, that's what they were saying.
In 5 years, we're going to be in the high-risk group, whatever this is going around.
We're not spring chickens. We sat there all night long in the middle of coughing sick people with no masks, just got a little tickle, and 2 days later it was gone. But even if we would have got flu symptoms, the point is, we didn't die from it, and we didn't almost die from it. We never went to a clinic, never went to a hospital. We self-medicate, as we always do.
Yeah, kefir.
With herbs and natural products, and we're still here to tell about it. I'm saying this, the only reason why I even mentioned it is because we went through what we were being told was the hardest hit area in the world.
Well, I think it's encouraging to tell people.
Sure. So it's encouraging to know that, well, look, the worst possible case scenario you can think of, and you went through it, and it wasn't really anything to talk about, you know. Now, that's not to say or to minimize that nobody dies. I know when and I still remember this, when I was 8 years old and I would run down the stairs to go play, my mom would say, love you, Mom. My mom would say, Frank, put your coat on. People are dying of pneumonia. I don't want you to catch pneumonia. And that was in the 60s. People are dying of pneumonia. So people have always been dying of pneumonia, of sickness, you know, infections, this, that. There's always been Influenza A, blah, blah, blah. You know, this is not some kind of sweep things under the rug like nobody ever dies of sickness or whatever. Listen, there are people in this world that don't take care of their health, okay? There's no judgment here. To each his own. People make their own choices. That's the point. You know, there are people that don't take care of their health, and then there are people like us that take responsibility for their own health. It's never been any different. It's always been that way. It's always been the case. There is nothing new under the sun. The great weather of the Andes. It's not too sunny, and it's not cold, and it's not hot, and lots of places to walk around, and it doesn't seem as busy as it was in times past.
No, it's not that busy.
Let's see if we could take a taxi here. Nope, he's full. So on this channel we do try to give little bits and pieces of what it's like to use food as medicine. And I know there was a guy in the comments that said, oh no, purple food scares me, that's scary, you know. I'll tell you something, if it's natural, I'm not talking about spray paint here. If it's natural, right? Like a purple cabbage, purple potato, purple onion.
Beets.
Beets. Purple's your friend. purple is your friend. Let me tell you, it is your friend. Eat as much of it as you can stand. I know back home in the States, I had planted a huge a cherry tree because that's part of that. It's part of that fruit that has antioxidant, and you got to take this stuff seriously. You know, I mean, it takes making a commitment to health. You know, it's like, what is going to be my conviction about health? Do I want to have a conviction about health? And I think that most people are not able to develop a conviction about health because of lifestyle. You know, I mean, the corporate lifestyle, the work, the 60 hours a week doesn't really lend itself to being able to spend enough time on yourself. It's funny because I had a guy once ask me, you know, and this was when I was in my late 30s. He's like, you know, people frequently talk to you about this when in the middle of the day. I mean, if you see an old timer in the middle of the day, you think, well, he's retired, okay? Because in the States, in the middle of the day, people are supposed to be at work. But if you're in your 30s, right, and you're in the middle of the day and you're just shooting the breeze, right, with somebody, and they start wondering, how is this guy able to shoot the breeze with me in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day? How is he able to do this? Well, it has to do with belief. It all comes down to belief. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people in this space, the FIRE community, the retire early community, and there's you know, a lot of different schools of thought on that. But whatever which way that you achieve your freedom, as long as it's ethical, moral, legal, you know, that kind of thing, then more power to you. But when you achieve that, and it is our premise that, and we, of course, we walk the talk, and we walk the talk, and we do walk the talk, and we've been doing this all our lives, that we believe in having the retire early lifestyle as early as you possibly can, right? And so that works symbiotically. What are all these people doing here? Okay, have to wait till they get out. So symbiotically, when you have the retire early lifestyle, that automatically encompasses the idea that you have time. And when you have time, then you can take care of your health. Right, amigo? ¿Cómo está? Time to take care of your health. Buenas. Okay.